Ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms. And hold up, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Wrestling Analytics. Everybody lend your ear again. You already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. This is the Lightning Flash update for July 13th, 2018. We are just a few days away from Extreme Rules pay-per-view in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The card has about 11 matches, I believe, confirmed for the event. Of course, you can catch the rundown for Extreme Rules tomorrow, Saturday, July 14th, 2018, where I will go over each and every single one of the matches. But for now, we're going to dive into the weekly show reviews. Monday Night Raw was absolutely atrocious, horrendous, nauseating, whatever other negative word you can use to describe it. It was just as bad as I knew it was going to be, and some. The show kicked off with Roman Reigns. He called out Lashley. Angle came out, and they started brawling, and then they had to get the locker room out to separate them. It went on for way too long. And then it ended with Roman Reigns just flying over the top rope, and that was it. And this is what really gets under my skin, because people want to play it off as the fact that they were cheering Roman Reigns, and they were cheering the fact that he was getting the upper hand on everyone. No, that's not the case. First of all, they did the same thing with many, many feuds in the past. They had all of these superstars who were in a feud. They had a brawl, and then they had to bring out the locker room to break them up. And the crowd reacted the same exact way that they reacted to this brawl. The crowd, all it was done for was a cheap pop. That's it. The crowd was not cheering Roman Reigns. They weren't chanting, "Let's go, Roman." They were chanting, "Let's go, Celtics," in the beginning of the show. Might I also mention that both men, Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns, had the exact same type of heat. Go away heel heat. So they legitimately don't want to see him. The reason why they were cheering this is because it was nothing but chaos and anarchy. No rules at all. They were cheering the fact that it was chaotic. And Vince McMahon knew. Vince McMahon knew that it was going to be this way because he's got the weak-minded fans and the manipulated casuals and Roman fanboys and fangirls trying to play it off as Roman got a reaction, Roman got cheered. Vince McMahon knows. Vince McMahon is manipulating those weak-minded, dumbfounded wrestling fans to try and play it off that Roman is over just because he got cheered. When really, they were just cheering the brawl, and they were cheering the chaos. I mean, facts are facts. Moving on. Nia Jax and Natalya defeated Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. Thank God this went quick. It was nothing special at all. And then Bliss used the kendo stick. Nia then took the kendo stick, broke it over her knee. That was that. Kevin Owens then was staying in Kurt Angle's office. I'm just going to try and breeze through Monday Night Raw because I don't really want to talk about it too much. Mojo Rawley defeated No Way Jose. You know something? It could have been a decent match, but they're really not doing anything to put Mojo Rawley or No Way Jose on the map as a talent to be taken seriously. Really, they're putting no effort into these shows. Bayley and Sasha were more counseling garbage. Rollins actually addressed Ziggler. Ziggler interrupted. They went back and forth. And match was made between Rollins and Drew McIntyre later on in the show. And if McIntyre lost, then he would have been banned from ringside. Bo Dallas defeated Matt Hardy. The leader of Worlds then attacked. That was that. I actually just hope that match is good. Because they really haven't done anything to get me excited for the Deleters of Worlds versus the B Team. Hopefully we get a good match. I'm not just going to undermine both teams. I'm not going to underestimate both teams. They are decent wrestlers, and they are very good competitors inside the squared circle. So I'm going to give them a chance at Extreme Rules. But the B team is not walking out as champions, no matter how many matches they've won since they have reformed. Ember Moon versus Liv Morgan. This was actually a decent match. But WWE hasn't done anything to make you care about Ember Moon or Liv Morgan. Though it was a decent match, and Ember Moon won, thank God. And you know something? I want to bring this to light. Ember Moon, since she has been called up, has been undefeated. Ember Moon has not been pinned, has not been submitted. She has not been legitimately beaten since April. Why isn't she getting a Raw Women's Championship opportunity? Can someone please answer me that? Why isn't Ember Moon getting a Raw Women's Championship title opportunity? Meanwhile, Alexa Bliss was the woman who won Money in the Bank, and they're just giving Ronda Rousey. Now, I like Ronda, don't get me wrong, but you gotta pay your dues. You gotta pay your dues. Ember Moon has been paying her dues since day one. Ember Moon put on one of the top, at least in the top 3 matches of the year with Asuka at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3, but you have her facing Liv Morgan, and she's not even in the conversation for the Raw Women's Championship. What does Ronda Rousey have to be upset about? What gives Ronda Rousey the right to challenge Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam when Ronda Rousey hasn't done anything but put on 2 good matches? 2 good matches doesn't make a career. Two good matches doesn't earn yourself a Raw Women's Championship title opportunity. I'm just thinking logically here. I like Rousey, don't get me wrong. But in hindsight, Ember Moon should have won Money in the Bank. Ember Moon should be where Alexa Bliss is right now. They should be setting up for Ember Moon versus a heel Sasha Banks at SummerSlam, and then we could have gotten Ember Moon versus Ronda Rousey next year at the Royal Rumble, and they could have built towards Rousey and Charlotte at WrestleMania. Elias then came out. He wanted to punch the people of Boston in the face. You know, I'm actually in the same boat as Elias, but I don't want to punch the people of Boston in the face. I want to punch Vince McMahon in the face for giving me terrible wrestling television. This ended with Corbin and Elias defeating Rude and Balor. Again, it wasn't a bad wrestling match at all, but... And you know something? It really pains me to say that I'm really not that excited to see any 4 of these guys, when I know 4 of them are great in the ring. They have the potential to be top guys, especially Balor and Corbin, who are fighting at Extreme Rules, but yet it's going to be treated as a joke because Constable Corbin is nothing but a ripoff of Corporate Kane, and Finn Balor hasn't been presented in a good way since when he first debuted and when he first became Universal Champion. Owens vs. Strowman in a steel cage match was also announced for Sunday, and then in the main event, Drew McIntyre defeated Seth Rollins in a good match for what it was, and he is going to be allowed at ringside. I would actually love to see Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship next year at WrestleMania. That would be a damn good Universal title program, if you think about it. Really, Raw was extremely missable. Nothing on here was even close to enjoyable other than the main event. And surprise, surprise, it included Seth Rollins. SmackDown Live. Now, I realize a lot of people have been complaining about SmackDown Live, and don't get me wrong, I get why. Because of the tag team matches, and because of the fact that the booking on the show was very lazy for a go-home show. But I enjoyed SmackDown Live to the extent, I'm not saying it was a phenomenal show, but I enjoyed it to the extent that it was very wrestling heavy. And that is really all I could ask for, because I love wrestling, and SmackDown gave me wrestling. Miz TV started off with Team Hell No. Obviously, Miz tried to stir the pot, like he always does. Miz and Daniel Bryan started to have some bickering back and forth. Bryan wanted to punch Miz in the face. Kane wouldn't allow him to. The tensions are boiling, and I think we could very well be getting the Miz versus Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam. Bludgeon Brothers and Sanity all of a sudden attacked. The New Day came out for the aid, and this set up a 10-man tag for later on in the night. We went from that to Styles versus Nakamura. Now, I realize that they've done this feud to death. I get it, trust me. But it was turning into a good match. The match actually turned into a very competitive match. Rusev then interfered. Hardy made the save. The tag team match was made, and listen, no matter how good these four men are, there are way too many meaningless tag team matches on Raw and SmackDown. Way too many meaningless tag team matches. If you want to give us tag team wrestling, give us the Club versus the Bar. Give us the Revival versus the Deleters of Worlds. Give us the Authors of Pain versus Titus Worldwide in a 15-minute 2 out of 3 falls match. That's good tag team wrestling. Those are tag team matches that I want to see. I don't want to see tag team matches put together just for the sake of getting the main event players on the show every week. Doesn't really make too much sense. But Rusev and Nakamura ended up defeating AJ and Hardy, and I like the fact that they are giving Rusev a lot of big wins. You take a look at Rusev over the past few months, and he's had wins over the likes of Bryan and The Miz and Samoa Joe, and now Jeff Hardy, because he pinned Jeff Hardy. So Rusev, I'm glad that they are starting to treat Rusev like a major player. I give him props for that. And I think he's going to have a very good showing against AJ Styles at Extreme Rules, which should main event, because the WWE title is the most important title in the company. We went from that to Asuka versus James Ellsworth. This was really the only horrendous thing on the show, in my eyes. I get that everything else was very lazy, except for Almas and Sin Cara, but this was really the only thing that I kind of just bypassed, and I was off, get myself something to eat. I was eating some fruit, eating some ice cream. I was getting myself a drink of water. But after I got back, I saw that Asuka won, and then Carmella laid out Asuka. Paige announced that Ellsworth is going to be suspended above the ring in a shark cage, so hopefully Asuka will win the title, because Carmella is just as big of a failure as Jinder Mahal was as WWE champion, because Carmella has offered nothing since she won that title. Andrade Cien Almas versus Sin Cara. This was a damn good match. You know, this match was so damn good that I actually wanted to see it more. This was actually the most underrated match of the week. These two know each other very well, and there was some very innovative spots. There was a spot in the corner where Almas kind of did a pop-up on Sin Cara, and Sin Cara reversed it almost into a modified Canadian Destroyer, and I love the way that Almas sells DDTs and head moves, where he just spikes himself right on the top of his head. Sin Cara is a very underrated talent. He's a very underrated talent. I don't know why they don't utilize Sin Cara a bit more. Sin Cara has been able to put on some pretty good matches with the likes of Corbin and now Almas. I knew Almas was going to win, but this match proved that Sin Cara is very underrated, and Andrade Cien Almas, he could bring a good match out of everyone. He could bring a good match out of everyone that he's in the ring with. Andrade Cien Almas wins after he hit that double stomp on the apron, and then the Almas annihilation, double knees in the corner. Almas defeats Sin Cara in an extremely good match. And then in the main event, Team Hell No and the New Day defeated Sanity and the Bludgeon Brothers. Decent match for what it was. It was kind of a lazy 10-man tag booking decision, but obviously it is all building towards Sunday at Extreme Rules. We got Team Hell No versus the Bludgeon Brothers for the titles, and then we got the New Day versus Sanity on the pre-show in a tables match. So hopefully Extreme Rules is good. Realistically, there's only 4 matches on that show that are realistically going to make the show, and that's Ziggler versus Rollins, Sanity versus New Day, AJ versus Rusev, and Hardy versus Nakamura. Other than that, everything else is just kind of But decent episode of SmackDown Live. Though it was lazy, it was very wrestling heavy. 205 Live. This was kind of a lackluster week for 205 Live, and I don't really think that has anything to do with the competitors per se. Kalisto versus Nice, it didn't really kickstart until late in the match, and it ended in a DQ because Murphy was at ringside, and Murphy and Nice brawled with the Lucha House Party. So, seeing a tag team match between those guys in the future, 205 Live just continues and continues and continues to impress me. Murphy and Nice, that's a damn good tag team. I'm actually wondering where that idea for cruiserweight tag team titles came from and if they are really going to employ it, because I really wouldn't mind it. But Lucha House Party versus Murphy and Nice, that's a damn good tag team match for the cruiserweights. Next week, Noam Dar versus TJP in a rematch was made. Can't wait to see that. Lio Rush then defeated a jobber, Colin Delaney. Tozawa observed. Obviously, they went back and forth, and Drake Maverick came out, and he made the match official. Next week, it's going to be Lio Rush versus Akira Tozawa. So next week's 205 Live is looking pretty damn good as well. The main event was Cedric Alexander versus Hideo Itami in a Cruiserweight Championship match. Now, I don't really think this is that big of a deal, but I want to discuss it. I don't know if it was the fact that Itami's style is very methodical, the fact that they were holding back a little, or the fact that the crowd was just dead because SmackDown was very wrestling heavy. But it was kind of a slow-paced match. The pace was a little too slow. Now, I'm not saying that it was a bad match. It was a good match. It was very hard-hitting. Very hard-hitting, but I feel like they were holding back a little because we didn't see a lot of the normal moves that we usually see. We didn't see that Michinoku driver from Cedric. We didn't see that beautiful springboard clothesline. We didn't see that Falcon Arrow from the top by Hideo Itami. We didn't see any of that. So I feel as though they were holding back a little because what Cedric did with Murphy was much better, and what Hideo did with Tozawa was much better as well. But this was a very good match. It had some hard-hitting action, some brutal spots. There was a spot where Cedric was propped up against the steps as if he was propped up by the bottom turnbuckle, but he was propped up sitting right by the steps. Hideo Itami did the hesitation drop kick, wedging Cedric Alexander between himself and the steps. Hideo then hit some brutal, hard-hitting, spinning back fists, but Cedric Alexander was able to pull out the win. When Hideo was going for a running attack, Cedric sidestepped it and used Hideo's own momentum against him and hit the lumbar check for the win. Cedric Alexander, the right man, won. It was a good match for what it was. A little lackluster, but still a good match for what it was. Cedric Alexander's doing big things. Cedric Alexander has not lost a match since December. The man is undefeated in 2018. He's defeated guys like Kalisto, guys like Roderick Strong, guys like Murphy, now Hideo Itami. Cedric Alexander is making a strong case of why he should be one of the MVPs of 2018. And if they want to, I really hope they go forth with it. I really want to see a rematch with Mustafa Ali at SummerSlam. Based on what's been going on and the fact that Drew Gulak, Kendrick, and Gallagher, they were in the back kind of scoping out the Cruiserweight Championship match, I can see Drew Gulak getting a shot, maybe at the end of the month on 205 Live, and then I can see them doing that rematch with Mustafa Ali at SummerSlam, and that's when Mustafa's going to get his big moment. A little bit of a downside for 205 Live this week, but nevertheless, still a very competitive Cruiserweight Championship match. Right man won. Cedric continues to impress. NXT is doing a great job getting you excited for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4, which I will be attending. And I cannot wait to see what goes down in that NXT Championship match between Ciampa and Black in 2 weeks. Show started off with a good match between Adam Cole and Danny Burch. I thought it was going to be for the North American Championship, but it wasn't. Adam Cole ended up winning with the Shining Wizard right to the back of the neck, the last shot. It was hard-hitting, very innovative. Adam Cole wins, right man wins. He continues his monumentous role. There was a brawl in the parking lot between Shayna Baszler and Candice LeRae, and we got word that later on in the night they announced next week it is going to be a fatal four-way number one contenders match. It's going to be Nikki Cross versus Candice LeRae versus Bianca Belair versus Kairi Sane. And the winner of that match will go on to face none other than Shayna Baszler at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn for the NXT Women's Championship. Speaking of Kairi Sane, she defeated Vanessa Bourne in a decent match. I thought it was going to be a squash, but NXT was very wrestling heavy as well. Afterwards, she called out Shayna Baszler, and after that, they made the Fatal 4-Way official. Lacey Evans was in the back with Dakota Kai. They had a segment, and Kai challenged her to a match. I was going to say in a match, but she challenged her to a match for next week. So I'm assuming that's going to take place next week. I don't see why it wouldn't take place next week. There was a confrontation with Aleister Black and Johnny Gargano outside the building. And Gargano said, "You cannot let Tommaso win." Black said, "I understand. And I understand you're frustrated about the whole situation, but you're going to have to let me handle this." Out of nowhere, Black enters the arena and Ciampa just comes out of nowhere as if he was hiding in like a closet or behind a production crate. He legitimately comes out of nowhere and just hits Aleister Black right in the back of the neck, drapes Aleister Black over a table, and DDTs him on the granite floor. He DDTs him on the granite floor backstage and walks away waving. So Tommaso Ciampa versus Aleister Black, it's going to be a fight, let me tell you. The main event between Mustache Mountain and the Undisputed Era, this was a fantastic match, and it has to be in contention along with Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali in that no DQ match. It has to be in contention for match of the month. Without a doubt, one of the most underrated matches of the year. This had some great storytelling. The story was Trent Seven's knee and the fact that he just could not continue. Tyler Bate got the hot tag, and Tyler Bate looks like he was just shot out of a cannon. He was just hitting people with uppercuts, hitting people with clotheslines and rolling kicks, airplane spins, and giant swings. He was doing everything in his power to keep the Undisputed Era at bay. But in the end, Trent Seven tagged himself in, and he looked like a complete underdog, and he was selling that knee injury like his life depended on it. And in the end, Kyle O'Reilly had Trent Seven almost in like a modified reverse figure 4 heel hook. And Trent Seven was like, no. Tyler, do not throw in the towel. But Tyler Bate was trying not to because he didn't want Trent Seven to suffer permanent knee injury. So he throws in the towel, and the Undisputed Era gained back the NXT Tag Team title. So I can see the rematch between these two teams and the final chapter between these two teams taking place at TakeOver Brooklyn. So that's going to be a damn good tag team match. Prepare yourself. Great episode of NXT. Overall, a decent episode of wrestling this week. Hopefully Extreme Rules is good. Now on to the news, rumors, and reports. Now, this rumor is kind of unanimous. I guess a lot of sites have been reporting this, but I did not get the official source who reported this. But supposedly, rumors going around that upon the move to Fox, SmackDown Live will receive a new brand stage and a new brand logo. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. Obviously, that's not as big as you would think. But this report is actually pretty big. According to John Fisher of barnburner.ca, he reported that WWE is planning on having 2 WrestleManias in 2020. The second one possibly being in October, and it will be along the lines of the Greatest Royal Rumble, like they did in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And speaking of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia is actually one of the 3 possible locations being discussed, along with Australia and London. I don't know how I feel about that, because the last decent WrestleMania was WrestleMania 31. WWE, these last 3 years of WrestleMania, they haven't exactly done everything in their power to make you believe that WrestleMania is going to be good. I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you. This year's WrestleMania just died after a couple of hours. The pre-show was actually better than the main show. We actually had a lot more innovative stuff and a lot more WrestleMania moments on the pre-show than we did in the main show. Didn't help that Roman Reigns was in the main event again. So I don't know how I feel about that. My next report comes from Ringside News. Now, according to Ringside News, by way of cage side seats, The Undertaker versus John Cena will happen at SummerSlam. Obviously, there's been reports that WWE wants The Undertaker to wrestle a little bit more frequently. So if they go forth with this, I'm guessing that John Cena will probably get his revenge and possibly build toward one last match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 35. That is when The Undertaker will finally retire, because Undertaker needs to retire. You need to let the man retire. After WrestleMania 30, he should have retired, because after the streak died, it was pretty much a done deal. Really, there was no purpose for The Undertaker anymore once the streak was over. Even though the streak should have never been broken, once it was over, that was it. Undertaker should have retired after WrestleMania 30 if they were really going to give the streak to Brock. That's all I got to say about that, but I mean, hopefully we actually get somewhat of a match, because at WrestleMania it was a squash. But regardless, we're going to see what happens. SummerSlam's only a month away, so we probably don't have to wait too long to find out. My next report actually comes from PW Insider. Well, actually, it's two reports rolled up into one. PW Insider is my first report, and another report from WrestleVotes actually ties into PW Insider's report. Listen to this. According to PW Insider, there was no pre-sale code for the TLC pay-per-view. Instead, WWE promoted a Super Show live on October 21st with Ronda Rousey appearing. WWE also has a pay-per-view event in Australia on October 6th as well, with Ronda Rousey appearing, and Mysterio appearing as well. On top of that, another report from WrestleVotes ties into this. They reported that WWE is reshuffling some pay-per-views around as they dropped Clash of Champions in December, and it was supposed to take place on the 16th of December this year in San Jose, and they replaced it with TLC. So, obviously, WWE looking to shuffle some pay-per-views around, and really, there's only one reason why Vince McMahon is doing this. More money. The only reason why WWE is reshuffling some pay-per-views and they want to host a Super Show on the 21st as well as a Super Show on the 6th, it is nothing more than a way to make some more dough, because WWE, obviously, we all know, has some slimy, disgusting, immoral business tactics. But I don't know how immoral it is to cancel Clash of Champions. Regardless, I just hope that their shows are good. Really, that's the only thing when it comes to WWE shows. I just hope the shows are worth watching. So we're going to see how that plays out. We got about 5 more months left in 2018, and most likely it's going to go pretty fast. So we only got 3 months to wait until we find out if this Super Show is really taking place. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. I would like to thank each and every one of you who tuned into this video. Do not forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at TheDJStorms. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, drop a shooting star press on that notifications bell. Do not forget to check out the Lightning Flash Update last week if you missed it, and do not forget to check out the rundown for WWE Extreme Rules pay-per-view, which I will post tomorrow, and also Wrestling Express. I don't know if you know them, but Wrestling Express, run by a man named Tommy McGrogan on Facebook. If you want to go follow them on Facebook, Wrestling Express, it is the group, not the fan page. They are going to be hosting a meetup at the Tilted Kilt Pub and Eatery in Wayne, New Jersey. And I will be there. If you want to talk to me, you want to take some pictures with me, I'm going to be watching Extreme Rules there, and we're going to see if we can get as many people in that meetup as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash Update. I will see you tomorrow for the rundown for Extreme Rules.